Last night, while you were sleeping, two people sat down together in a private conversation. And the only reason that meeting happened at all was you. Now, before you react, before your mind goes to the worst possible place, I need you to stay with me. Because what I'm about to tell you is not what you think it is. The story you are already building in your head right now. The one where this is bad news. The one where those two people were plotting against you, tearing you apart behind closed doors, saying things about you that you would never want to hear. That story is wrong. Not partially wrong, completely wrong. And by the time I finish telling you what actually happened in that meeting, and more importantly, what they decided, you are going to understand something about yourself that you have been refusing to believe for a very long time. So, take a breath and listen. Two people, last night, a conversation that started because of something they had both noticed about you, something they couldn't ignore anymore, something that had been building between them for weeks, maybe longer, and neither one of them could keep it to themselves anymore. They needed to talk about it. They needed to compare what they were seeing, what they were feeling, what they were witnessing in you. They needed to figure out what to do about you. Because you, without doing a single deliberate thing, had become impossible to ignore. And that right there, is the part that is going to change everything. Let me tell you what you've been feeling lately. Because I see it. I see the way you have been moving through your days with this quiet sense that something is different. Not bad different. Not wrong different. Just shifted. Like the air around you has a different weight to it. Like the way people look at you has changed in some subtle way you cannot quite name. You've noticed it, haven't you? The way certain people pause when you walk into a room. The way conversations shift the moment you arrive. The way someone will be mid-sentence and then just stop for half a second. Like they lost their train of thought. And you wonder if you imagined it. You tell yourself you are reading too much into things. You tell yourself that you are not the kind of person who affects rooms like that, who shifts atmospheres like that, who makes people pause mid-sentence just by existing. But here is the thing. Here's what I need you to hear. You have been wrong about yourself for a very long time, not about everything, but about this specific thing, about the effect you have on the people around you. You have been operating from a completely false understanding of who you are and what you carry. And those two people who met last night, they are living proof of that. Because they did not sit down to discuss someone ordinary. They did not arrange a private conversation about someone forgettable. Someone who fades into the background. Someone who doesn't matter. They arranged that conversation about you, which means you are none of those things. You have never been any of those things. You just didn't have the evidence until now. And the evidence is coming right now. Stay with me. Think about the last few weeks. Think about the interactions that felt strange. The moments that didn't quite add up. The times you sensed something moving beneath the surface of a conversation but couldn't figure out what it was. Those moments were not your imagination. They were not anxiety or overthinking or projection. Something was genuinely happening. You were picking up on something real. You were sensing the ripple effects of a shift in how people around you are perceiving you, responding to you, recalibrating around you. And those two people, they felt it first, or maybe not first, but they felt it most intensely. They felt it in a way they couldn't rationalize away or dismiss or ignore. And that is why they had to talk. That is why last night happened at all. But before I tell you who these two people are, I need to tell you something else first. Something that will make the rest of this make sense. Something about what you've been carrying without knowing it. There is a version of you that other people see that you have never had access to. I want you to really hear that. There is an entire experience of you, of your presence, your energy, the way you occupy space, that exists in other people's awareness that you have zero ability to perceive directly. You cannot see your own back. You cannot hear the sound of your own voice the way others hear it. And you cannot feel the effect of your own presence the way the people standing near you feel it. And because you cannot access any of that directly, you have filled in the gaps with assumptions, with doubts, with the quiet, persistent belief that what is going on inside your head, the worry, the uncertainty, the moments of exhaustion and confusion and self-doubt, is somehow visible to everyone around you, like they can see through you, like your internal experience is written all over your face, obvious to anyone who looks. It is not. It is not. What they see when they look at you is something completely different, something that has nothing to do with your doubt or your private fears. What they see is someone who moves through the world with this quality, this almost unsettling steadiness, like you have been through things, like you have survived things, like there is a depth to you that most people spend their entire lives chasing and never quite reaching. And you carry it not because you are performing it or because you have mastered some technique. You carry it because you have actually lived it, because you have actually been through the fire and come out the other side, not broken, not bitter, but somehow more yourself than you were before. Yeah, that quality is not invisible. It is not subtle. It radiates. And the people around you, including those two people who met last night, cannot stop feeling it. They cannot stop being moved by it. They cannot stop watching you and wondering how you do it, how you remain so intact, how you remain so present and grounded when the world keeps trying to shake everyone loose from themselves. And here is where it gets specific. Here is where we get into exactly what those two people were seeing that forced them into that conversation. They notice the way you handle things. Not loudly, not dramatically, not with the kind of visible effort that announces to everyone watching, "Look at how hard this is for me." You handle things quietly. You process things internally. You absorb impact in a way that does not broadcast your pain to the people around you. And that specific quality of digesting difficulty without performing it, it looks from the outside like power. It looks like unshakable strength. It looks like someone who cannot be broken. And they could not figure out if it was real. Yeah, that is the thing. That is what sent them to that meeting last night. They could not figure out if what they were seeing was genuine or if it was a performance. If you were actually that solid, or if you were secretly falling apart behind closed doors. And they needed to know. Because understanding that about you, understanding whether your strength was real or constructed, was going to determine what they did next. So they talked last night about you, about what they have been observing, about what they have been feeling when they are around you, about what you represent to them and why you have become so impossible to stop thinking about. And what came out of that conversation is not what either of them expected. Now I need to talk to you about who these two people are, because this is where the shock really begins. These are not strangers. They are not people from the periphery of your life who barely know you. These are people who have been watching you closely, people who have had opinions about you, strong opinions, people who at some point may have underestimated you, may have dismissed you, may have been part of a version of your story where they were not playing a particularly kind role. I know you know who I'm talking about. There is a face that just appeared in your mind, maybe two faces, and your first instinct is to feel something uncomfortable about that, a little guarded, a little defensive, because the history between you and those people has not been simple. It has not been clean. There have been moments where you felt like they saw you as less than, where you felt like they were counting on you to stay small, to stay manageable, to stay in a box they had decided was the right size for you. And for a while, you tried to fit, didn't you? You made yourself smaller than you were. You softened edges that didn't need softening. You swallowed things that deserved to be said out loud because you were trying to maintain a peace that was costing you everything. You were trying to hold together a version of the relationship that required you to constantly shrink. But then something changed, and they felt it before you even fully realized it yourself. You stopped performing smallness. You stopped apologizing for taking up space. You stopped chasing their approval like it was the only currency that mattered. And the moment you did that, the moment that invisible shift happened inside you, they felt it like a physical thing, like a pressure change in the room, like something that had always been available to them was suddenly not. And that scared them. Not because they were afraid of you specifically, but because they were afraid of what your shift meant for them. Because your growth was a mirror, and what it reflected back at them was uncomfortable. It showed them everything they had been projecting onto you, everything they had been using your compliance to avoid looking at in themselves. And when you stopped being compliant, when you stopped being the version of you they had decided you were, the mirror got very, very clear. So they talked about it last night, trying to figure out what to do with what they were seeing, trying to figure out who you had become, trying to figure out, honestly, whether they could still hold onto the narrative they had been telling themselves about you. And here is what they found. Here is the decision they came to. And this is the part I promised would shock you. They couldn't do it. They couldn't maintain the old story about you because the evidence in front of them no longer supported it. Every version of you they had constructed in their minds, the version that needed them, the version that was struggling, the version that would eventually come back to where they wanted you. None of it matched who you are right now. None of it matched the person they have been watching move through the world with that quiet, devastating, unshakable energy. And facing that, facing the evidence that you had outgrown the box they built for you, that you had exceeded every limit they had silently placed on you, that you had become something they could not categorize, could not control, could not predict, that broke something in them. Not you, them. The meeting that happened last night was not them conspiring against you. It was them reckoning with you. It was them sitting across from each other and admitting, maybe for the first time out loud, that they had gotten you wrong, that they had underestimated you in ways they could no longer deny, that the story they had been telling about who you are and what you are capable of was never true. It was a story they told because the truth was too much for them to handle. The truth being that you were always going to get here. You were always going to grow into this version of yourself. You were always going to outgrow their expectations, their limitations, their quiet need to keep you manageable. It was never a question of if. It was only ever a question of when. And the when is now. And they know it. And that knowledge is what they had to sit with last night, together, because individually, neither one of them could hold the weight of it alone. So what was the decision? They decided to stop pretending. Stop pretending that you are who they needed you to be. Stop pretending that the story they built around you still holds. Stop pretending that they have any power over how your life unfolds from here. Because they don't. They know they don't. And last night was the moment they finally admitted it to each other. That is the decision that will shock you. Not because it is dangerous, but because it is the last thing you expected. You expected them to be plotting. You expected the worst. You prepared yourself for bad news because that is what you have learned to do when certain people are talking about you behind closed doors. You protect yourself. You brace for impact. But the impact that is coming is not damage. It is recognition. It is two people who may have been thorns in your story for longer than you deserved, finally arriving at the truth about you. And the truth is simple. You won. Not aggressively, not loudly, not by defeating anyone or engineering a comeback or proving a point in front of an audience. You won by simply becoming who you were always going to be. You won by surviving the very things they assumed would stop you. You won by continuing to grow in the direction that was true for you, even when they were quietly, privately hoping that you wouldn't. That is the most powerful kind of victory. The kind that does not require an audience. The kind that does not need to announce itself. The kind that happens quietly and completely and leaves no room for argument because the evidence is undeniable. And now they know, both of them, together. Now here is what I need you to do with this information. And this is the most important part. The part that determines what happens next. I need you to resist the urge to feel vindicated in a way that pulls you backward. I know the temptation is there. I know part of you wants to hold this up, to wave it around, to let the people who doubted you finally see what they missed about you. I understand that impulse. It comes from a very human, very understandable place. But here is the truth. The version of you who needed their recognition to feel whole doesn't exist anymore. That version left. That version graduated. And you don't need to go back and collect the acknowledgement from people who were too late to give it when it mattered. Their reckoning belongs to them. It is not yours to manage or witness or perform for. What belongs to you is this moment, this knowledge. This confirmation that everything you have been choosing, everything you have been building, every boundary you held when it would have been easier to collapse, every time you chose yourself when they were counting on you to choose them instead, all of it was right. All of it was leading exactly here, to this moment of quiet, undeniable, unshakable proof that you were never the problem. You were always the answer. And I need you to let that land, not on the surface, not as a nice thing you heard today and then set aside. I need you to let it land deep, in the place where you have been carrying the weight of their opinions for too long, in the place where their voices got too loud and your own voice got too quiet. I need you to let this truth reach that place and begin to dissolve what has been living there. Because what has been living there is a lie. The lie that you were too much. The lie that you were not enough. The lie that their rejection said something true about your worth. It didn't. It never did. It only ever said something about their capacity, their limitations, their inability to hold space for someone who was always going to outgrow what they were offering. You are not who they decided you were. You are not defined by the meeting they had about you last night, or any meeting that came before it, or any conversation that has ever happened about you in a room you weren't in. You are defined by who you choose to be when no one is watching, by what you do when there is no audience, by the integrity of your private choices and the consistency of your quiet growth. And by those measures, You have already won everything that matters. The people talking about you right now, the ones comparing notes, recalibrating their understanding of who you are and what you represent, they are not your judges. They are your witnesses. And what they are witnessing is the emergence of someone who has done the work, paid the cost, and arrived on the other side of it, not destroyed, but delivered. That is you. That has always been you. And the most beautiful part? You don't have to do anything with this. You don't have to respond. You don't have to show up differently. You don't have to perform your victory for anyone. You just have to keep being exactly who you are. Keep growing in the direction that is true for you. Keep choosing yourself with the same quiet consistency that got you here. Because the truth has a way of arriving on its own. It doesn't need your help. It doesn't need you to announce it or defend it or prove it. It just needs you to keep living it. And you already know how to do that. Yeah, you've always known. 2 people sat down last night because of you. Because you have become someone who cannot be ignored, cannot be dismissed, cannot be contained by the old stories that used to be told about you. And what they decided, the thing that shocked even them, is that you are exactly who you always were, underneath all the noise and the doubt and the weight of other people's expectations. You are someone worth reckoning with. You are someone they cannot stop thinking about. You are someone the world is still catching up to. And it is only just beginning.